Let me be direct with you. I sat across tables from thousands of people, entrepreneurs, investors, executives, and I can tell you, the ones who hit 40 and still haven't fixed their money behavior, most of them never do. Not because they're stupid, not because they didn't work hard, but because nobody ever told them the truth. So today I'm telling you. Before I get into this, I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments below. When you hit 40, did your relationship with money change, or did you just keep doing what you always did? Because your answer tells me everything about where you'll be at 60. Drop it below. I read more of those than you think. Now, let's talk about what's actually killing your financial future. The first thing I need you to stop doing is treating your income like the finish line. I see this constantly. Someone gets to 40, they're earning decent money, maybe great money, and they start to relax. They think earning is winning. It is not. Earning is the starting pistol, not the tape at the end of the race. The average 40-year-old in North America has less than $50,000 saved for retirement. Let that land. They spent 2 decades working and have almost nothing to show for it in assets. Why? Because they confuse cash flow with wealth. Cash flow feeds your lifestyle. Wealth funds your freedom. These are not the same thing, and mixing them up is one of the most expensive mistakes a person can make. I grew up with nothing. I know what it means to watch money leave faster than it arrives. But the moment I understood that every dollar is an employee, not a reward, everything shifted. Your money should be working while you sleep. If it isn't, you're leaving compounding on the table every single night. Here's the second thing I want you to stop. Stop buying things to signal status to people who don't actually care about you. This one is brutal, but it's true. The upgraded car, the kitchen renovation that cost twice what you budgeted, the watches, the handbags, the vacations posted to Instagram. You know what wealthy people do instead? They buy assets that produce income and let other people buy the liabilities. The psychological trap here is real. Humans are wired for social comparison. It's primal. But your primal brain was designed for a tribe of 150 people, not a social media audience of thousands. When you spend to impress, you're essentially paying a tax on your own insecurity. And that's a tax with no deduction. Wealth is quiet. I've met people worth tens of millions who drive ordinary cars and live in unremarkable houses. And I've met people drowning in debt who look extraordinarily successful on the surface. One group is building, the other is performing. You cannot do both at the same time with the same money. Choose. The third mistake, and this one might sting, is playing it too safe with your investments. Now I know what you're thinking. Kevin, you always talk about risk management. Yes, I do. But there's a difference between managing risk and being paralyzed by it. When you're over 40, you still have potentially 20 to 25 years of compounding ahead of you. That's enormous. The people who park everything in a savings account earning 2% because they're scared of the market, they're not being cautious, they're guaranteeing loss. Inflation alone is eating them alive. Playing it safe is not the absence of risk. It is a different kind of risk, the risk of never having enough. Diversification is not just a word I say on television. It's the architecture of a resilient portfolio. You need equities. You need real assets. You may need alternative investments. What you don't need is all your money sitting in a place where it's slowly losing purchasing power while you tell yourself you're being responsible. That's not responsibility. That's financial avoidance dressed up in conservative language. Now let's talk about the thing I think about more than almost anything else when it comes to people in their 40s time. Not time management, time perception. When you're 25, you feel immortal. You think you'll get to it later. When you're 40, later is not a strategy. The math is no longer theoretical. If you're 42 years old and you start investing $1,000 a month at a reasonable return of 7%, by 65 you'll have built something meaningful. But every year you wait, that number drops significantly. Compounding doesn't negotiate with procrastination. It simply stops working for you and starts working against you. Here's what I've observed about wealthy people versus average earners. It's not intelligence. It's not luck, though. Luck plays a role. It's urgency. Wealthy people treat financial decisions with a sense of urgency that average earners simply don't apply. When I look at a deal, I'm not casual about it. I analyze, I decide, I move. Most people analyze, delay, rationalize, and then wonder why nothing changed. Inaction is a decision. And over 40, inaction becomes one of the most expensive choices you can make. The fourth behavior I want you to eliminate is financial isolation, meaning stop making all your money decisions alone or only with people who know as much as you do. I have a team. I have advisors I trust, challenge, and pay well to tell me when I'm wrong. Most people in their 40s are making six-figure financial decisions based on conversations with coworkers or information they found on the internet at midnight. That is terrifying. Your network is your financial leverage, not just for opportunity, but for perspective. The smartest thing you can do this year is get in a room, physically or virtually, with people who are further ahead than you financially, not to copy them, but to recalibrate what you think is possible. Your financial ceiling is often set by the conversations you're having. Change the conversations, change the ceiling. The fifth thing, stop carrying financial guilt. I'm serious about this one. So many people over 40 are paralyzed not just by bad habits, but by regret about the bad habits they've already had. The decade of overspending, the investments they didn't make, the business they didn't start. That guilt does not protect you from future mistakes. It just weights you down in the present. I'm not interested in what you didn't do. I'm interested in what you're going to do in the next 1,000 days. That's the only number that matters now. Regret is the most useless currency in existence. It spends nowhere and buys nothing. What I'm really talking about across all of this is identity, how you see yourself in relation to money. Because here's what I know to be absolutely true. Your behavior with money is downstream of your belief about money. If you believe wealth is for other people, luckier people, smarter people, people who were born into the right family, your behavior will reflect that belief in every single decision you make. You won't negotiate your salary because you don't see yourself as someone worth more. You won't invest aggressively because you don't believe you deserve a wealthy future. You'll spend impulsively because deep down you don't trust the money to stay. The people I've backed who succeeded didn't always have the best ideas, but they had an unshakable belief that their financial future was their responsibility and their creation. Nobody was coming to save them. Nobody was going to hand it to them. And that clarity made them act differently. Every week, every decision, every dollar. That's the shift. Not a tactic, not a hack. A fundamental change in how you see yourself and your money. Over 40 is not too late. Let me be completely clear about that. Some of the most significant wealth-building periods in people's lives happen in their 40s and 50s. Earning power is often at its peak. Children may be becoming more independent. You have wisdom. You simply didn't have at 25. The variable that separates the people who leverage that window from the people who don't isn't opportunity. It's decision-making. It's the quality of the choices you make when the stakes are finally real enough to demand your full attention. So here's what I want you to do right now. Not tomorrow, not after the weekend, right now. Write down the one financial behavior you already know, you need to stop. Not because I told you, because you've known for a while and you've been waiting for permission or proof or a sign. Consider this all three. The money conversation you haven't been having with yourself, it's overdue. Your 60-year-old self is either going to thank you or look back at this exact moment as the point where things could have changed and didn't. Which one is it going to be? Drop your answer in the comments. Tell me the one thing you're stopping today. I want to know, and more importantly, I think you need to say it out loud.